focus, Will, is really about relying on the senior life system. We are so focused in and dialed in. Ron and Robert, they have put together a program that we all can follow. And as they like to say, if you lean on the system, life gets easier. So I like to tell people, how do you want to be successful here? You have to be focused. You have to wake up each day with a plan. But guess what? Senior Life has the plan.
Yeah.
You don't even have to create your plan.
Fire up. Welcome, Senior Life family, to another All Fired Up podcast. Today I'm joined by Dan Hoying. And Dan, how are we feeling today?
I'm feeling awesome. Got up at 5 a.m. this morning, took the flight down from Boston, flew down with Josh Riley, and we're meeting our Hispanic team down here for a few days of recordings with you guys, meetings with Ron and Robert, and always a lot of fun when we come down here to Thomasville, Georgia. Get used to that heat though the first time you walk out of the car.
Oh man. So Dan, just for anybody that hasn't met you yet or heard your story, kind of tell us about how you got into the insurance space and got in with Senior Life.
So I actually got my insurance license in 2010 and started in final expense as with a broker.
Okay.
As a broker. I should say I actually started with Bankers Life and Casualty. It was my first company, and found out I was going to go broke there on a very low contract. And so quickly, was very successful, but wasn't making a lot of money. So I actually was traveling and met somebody who was doing final expense, and I hooked up with them, and I worked with that group for the better part of 5 years, built about a $4.5 to $5 million annual all broker team. But we focused on final expense, a little of a lot of other things. I'd always like to say a little annuities, a little term. So I was a broker in the true sense of the word broker, and so kind of got burned out on that space, to be quite honestly, because as my upline would change from one carrier to the next, and the people would move, and then the people would rewrite their policies, and you get a bunch of chargebacks.
Right.
It really wasn't a fun space to be in. I know Robert Shiver always said that the key part of being a broker is that you're broke, and it was really very true. People are always moving around, off-writing on you. So it was very interesting. I actually kind of had soured on the final expense business.
Oh, yeah?
And I had taken about a couple of years off and got back into consulting, which is what I had done most of my adult life. And so again, one of my friends that had worked with me in the space, said, "Hey, I'd like to get back into final expense. Would you help me?" And he was a friend of my son's, and so I said, "Sure." So let me see if I can find just somebody that's honorable.
Right.
And so so in the smallest of worlds, this person did some emails. Long story short, he got appointed to somebody in North Carolina, but that person, Josh Riley, was in New England and had exclusive rights to the territory. And so that person got transferred to Josh, and so he asked me if I would come up and meet with Josh with him, and I am up, so to speak.
Yeah.
And Josh had just been with Senior Life for about a year at that point, maybe not even quite a whole year.
Okay.
But I was just totally impressed with his integrity, but I had had a commitment to other things, because as I'm sitting there thinking, I'm getting that itch to get back into the business.
Right.
And so I kind of finished out. I said, well, so I told the person, and I actually led quite a few people to him, kind of agreed that I'd stay on the periphery a little bit, help him build, do some things, help, a group of guys were going to help Josh. And one thing led to another, and then I got reappointed.
Right.
Actually, this past February was my third full year with Senior Life. In a official capacity.
Nice. Well, congratulations.
And it's been quite the ride. Josh. Josh ultimately led me to Robert and Ron, and what I always like to tell people is it's about integrity. When I came here, when you've been burned out from a lot of the bad things that happen, and in our industry, uplines who steal your downlines, you build a territory, to have your commission slashed because you're making too much money, so your uplines, wants your money, or carrier wants your money, and people, they'll write, one day with one of our competitors, and the next day, 2 months later, they go rewrite it with another carrier so that they can get a fast buck, and what was really telling to me is, in the 5 years I was in the industry, I put up over $18 million in business, and I had almost no renewals to show for it.
Oh, wow.
And it was like, as a group. And even with my, piece at the top, it should have been plenty of, money coming in comparatively. And so I was talking to Josh and seeing what he had did in the industry, and you talked to Robert and Ron, and, and so, I really got fully invested, and, I think the first year Josh and I, we kind of partnered together in a lot of ways, and, we still do he's the senior partner and I'm the partner, but we really work hand in hand on so much of our business. And, and it's great, as I've gotten to know the other, partners and senior partners here at Senior Life, it's such a good, family atmosphere. That's what I really enjoy about Senior Life is, hey, we can sit here all day and talk about what a great company we are as far as product, and we can talk about, how competitive we are in the marketplace and how we have some of the best renewals in the business. But at the end of the day, if you don't work with people that have integrity, you don't stay.
Right.
And and as as we were sitting down here, I was telling you, I said, the key thing here is as we build our business is to find people that appreciate that part of the business and build your core group around those people. And then you just keep expanding that out and expanding that out. I think last year I averaged, I think the number 750 recruits last year during the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
I think first year was 500. I think our third year here, we're probably at least at that number, if not close to it. And so, the goal here is, for a short time there, we held the record, for the most recruits, with 156. But, like anything else here at Senior Life, records are meant to be broken. So now we're challenging ourselves to, hit that record again. And I think that's what's crazy as I looked at our leaderboard, it's like, I remember, 3 years ago, looking at the leaderboard, or, we came to our first, annual meeting, and they're giving out the awards, and, we were like 5th or 6th, and, 2.5, million or whatever it was. And nowadays that wouldn't even, that doesn't even qualify you to get you in the top 20. I mean, we've got people writing, $1 million a month here, and so it's kind of insane as the company keeps growing. But what I've really appreciated about all this growth is that it has allowed us to still maintain our core value of that integrity and the familiarity of what we do here at Senior Life. And the bigger we get, I always love the fact that, Ron and Robert, when you look at Ron and what he's been through, and that he's out there on the plane, traveling around the country, anybody who's been paralyzed or partially paralyzed from the waist down, if he can do it, we can too. And I love that saying. But what I really think is the most important is as the company has evolved the last couple of years, he listens. I remember sitting with him in a hotel room with one of our managers in Chicago saying, we need, these are the things that we could do to improve, and he asked our manager, and I'm sitting there saying, yeah, those are good ideas. And I'm thinking, well, let's see what happens. And next thing I know, it's like, hey, we're implementing this, we're implementing that. And, and I think as big as we're becoming one of the biggest behemoths in the industry, the fact that, any agent, any manager can actually get time with the owner, the executive vice president of the company, it's just so great.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing almost.
It is mind-blowing. And, so that's like us coming down here. We love to bring our team down here because every time somebody comes down here, you really feel the spirit.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really been great. It's, for me, I think it's even more important is, as I'm 59 and, going on 60, and I look at this and I say, I've got to, I got another 10 good years, maybe 15, nowadays, you get younger every age. The older you get, the younger you seem. So, what used to be, I'd be, thought I'd be done at 60. Now I'm 70. I'm so energized by all the directions that we're going. It's like,
that's awesome.
My wife's ready to, retire, and I'm like, I'm ready to ramp it up.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you can enjoy the fruits of our retirement, know, so I think that's one of the greatest parts of being here.
Awesome. And so you're definitely a shining example of somebody that's come from the broker model and why, it's important, or, why it benefited you to come to, a singular product. But what would kind of be some benefits of, say, someone just, average Joe, corporate job, 9 to 5, like what would be some of the benefits of them coming to this industry and this system?
Well, I think is, one of the things is, as I was thinking about this, podcast today, and I think this is my third or fourth one, over the years, and each time I was like, what can we talk about that's meaningful? And
right.
I was really thinking about, one of the things is, it's easy to go out in the insurance industry and find people who are unsatisfied at this carrier or that carrier, but there's so many people out there that, I didn't grow up thinking I wanted to be a life insurance agent. As a matter of fact, I remember my mom probably won't listen. Hopefully she doesn't watch this on Facebook, but I had an uncle who sold insurance for a while, and my dad didn't care for him very much, trying to sell. And so, you don't grow up thinking you want to be an insurance agent or a car salesman or whatever. Everybody has more glorious things, but then but the insurance industry is, really provides so much, I kind of call it my 4 Fs. I'll start with the first one, which is freedom.
Okay.
When you're locked in just the person who's working at the diner or punching the clock at the local factory or, is a secretary at an office somewhere. I mean, how much do you miss because you don't have time off? Maybe you can't attend a funeral of a friend that passed away or a mother of a friend, or maybe you can't make it to your kid's ball game because you can't get out at 4 o'clock. So the first thing I always like to tell people is, if you could have a job where you could be free to set your hours, would that be important to you?
And I'd say most people would probably say yes.
I think the majority of people, there are people out there that like that. And then I always like to say, the next part of this equation is, if you have the freedom, what about flexibility? And what I mean by flexibility is, I can wake up on a Monday and, my buddy calls me and says, Dan, if the weather's great, you want to go hit 9 holes? And I can be flexible to do that. And so freedom and flexibility go hand in hand. But it also, what I like to refer to at Senior Life, is a little different with flexibility. At Senior Life, I can be a telesales agent or I can be a field agent.
Yes, sir.
So why is flexibility play into freedom? Because I remember last summer, and I'll give a shout out to Jen, Jen C, one of our top agents. We were down at the annual meeting in the pool down in Cancun, and my wife and I are sitting there, and we're having our cocktail and sitting in the pool, and she says, "What's Jen doing?" And there's Jen in the pool with the headset on her head and the laptop setting on the side, and she's making a sale.
While she's in the pool in Cancun?
And I said, honey, she's selling final expense.
That's awesome.
And she said, you're kidding me. So she kind of walks closer, and she's like, she walks back. She really is selling final expense. And Jen made a sale from the pool. And I think that flexibility of, just recently, my wife and I were kind of, tired of the whole COVID, and we, was finally, the world was opening up, and we wanted to take a vacation, and kind of last minute, we took off and we went to Florida.
Okay.
And we got a condo down in Florida, or, it was actually a vacation rental, whatever you want to call it, Marriott Club, whatever. And we spent the week, and I was able to do my thing because I could be flexible, because I could work from anywhere. Now, Elaine's a physical therapist, so she took time off.
Yeah.
So she was able to really enjoy.
And
I love the pool, but not all day. And, she could sit there and read her book and sit by the pool in the sun all day. So I'm working in between.
And still going full steam ahead.
And still going full steam ahead. So the flexibility that I could pivot from being in an office or being in a client's home and having the flexibility to work from anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world for that matter. We were in Cancun. And, and what I was so proud of, and I will be honest, when COVID hit, I am probably one of the most positive individuals. And I remember that first month of COVID, that March, and President Trump shut the country down, and I'm literally like, oh, what? Yeah. I am like ready. Yeah. What am I going to do? I had all field agents.
Oh,
I had all field agents. My team was all field agents. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I've worked, 2+ years here to build this business.
And then COVID
and we're like streaming up, and we're going, and COVID hits, and our team, we had a little downturn in April, and by May, our numbers were better than they were the previous month.
Making that switch?
And we switched everybody on the team to telesales.
Wow.
Now, we took hardcore field salespeople and converted them.
Yeah.
And it was eye-opening to me because I always I consider myself a people person. So like sitting here with you is easy, but I think my personality plays better in person.
Right.
And so it was like, I had to like change my whole mindset. It was like, Mitch Conner likes to talk about mindset. And I was like, oh my gosh, it was like, okay, the switch went on. I had to change my mindset. We are now a telesales company. I don't know how long we're going to be a telesales company. And oh, by the way, we can't date products out for 30 days. We're going 14 days. And we just like, it was just so seamless. Senior Life had been doing it for a decade. They had the systems in place, and it was just like, okay, we adapted, we improvised, we moved on, and the growth plane continued. And I think what it taught me is that we can be very, very flexible here because you don't know what the world's going to happen. You don't know what your personal situation is going to happen. So think about if you're in a job and you're 45 years of age and your mother moves and father moves down to Florida and they get sick and they need help, but you can't go down and be with them because you're in a job. Well, here you could go down, take a job with us, and it doesn't matter where you're working. What about the flexibility? I just was actually talking to one of my kids, one of my kids, and his father actually works with us, and they were able to travel to his Little League games, and his father was actually selling insurance from the sidelines in the outfield while his kids was playing in an amateur athletic union baseball. But he said, I got to see that moment. I would have missed that. He said he worked, I believe he worked at one of the large, pharmacies and had come to us. And so he said, I would have been there. I never would have saw that. And he said, but I was able to do it. And, and then that brings me to the third F, which is focus. And focus, Will, is really about relying on the Senior Life system. We are so focused in and dialed in. Ron and Robert, they have put together a program that we all can follow. And as they like to say, if you lean on the system, life gets easier. So I like to tell people, how do you want to be successful here? You have to be focused. You have to wake up each day with a plan. But guess what? Senior Life has the plan.
Yeah.
You don't even have to create your plan. Now, you have the flexibility within the plan to pursue it in any way you like.
Right. There's a couple different angles to attack it from.
But the ability here is we have a focused system that allows you to unbelievably grow your business, and all you have to do is lean on it. And I'll give you an example. Monday to Thursdays, you always say, you should be up in the morning and out at your first client at 9 o'clock. And as Ron likes to say, work till dark 30. As we like to say in the Northeast, until it gets dusk out. But if you work Monday to Thursday and you put in the time and you lean on the system, it's almost impossible to fail because you're putting in the activity, because the product sells itself. And I think that's what's amazing is that you're not asked to cold call on people. You're getting people. I call them warm leads.
Yeah.
I like to call them requests for coverage. I know it's probably not a popular term, but it's around here at Senior Life. But people send in a request to get information about coverage, and it's our agents who can go out. They don't have to go, walk down the street. You don't have to sell family and friends. It's not like my uncle who my father would hide from at the family party because, the insurance agent's coming to sell.
Yep.
And so that's all about the focus here is you focus down, you drill down, and then you figure out what works. There's some people here that like telesales leads, or some people here that like direct mail. We have, social media leads. We have tele leads. I mean, so everybody can within the system find the level that they like. And then lastly, the fourth is the one I like the best, and I think most of our people out there, when you're in a job, I think I saw the average wages, depending on the parts of the country you're in, can be anywhere from $10 to $20 an hour, and for non-college graduated, so to speak, people, and even the college graduates are barely making $25 or $30 an hour coming out of college. And I think the one thing about Senior Life is you pick what you want to make, and you reverse engineer in how much activity and how much, leads that you need. If you come to one of our Friday meetings with Josh and I, every week I always end with, leads plus activity equals sales.
Right.
And I like to tell people, new agents that are coming on board, that what that really means is your financial security, because we never run out of leads.
Right.
Ever. We have agents, individual agents here at Senior Life that are getting checks for $40,000 a month, $400,000 a year. We have managers that make $1 million a year. Tell me what you want to make, and I can follow.
Show you the steps. Yeah.
I'll show you the steps. And I know people listen to this and they say, Dan, come on, you're kidding. It's so simple. It's okay. You want to make, $3,000. You need, 25 or 30 leads. You need to put in this many hours a week. And if you put in this in, and so I always about once every quarter we'll run, what we call the reverse engineering, and I'll tell everybody who wants to call me up, how much money you don't want to make. And most people say, that's all I have to do to make $3,000 or $2,000?
Right.
It's like, it's not even like I'm asking them to go work 70 hours a week to
right.
make $100,000 a year. I'm asking you to just give us 4 good days, 10-hour days, and $100,000 is very doable here at Senior Life. And again, you kind of put those 4 F's together, flexibility, freedom, focus, to get the financial security you want. And that is what Senior Life in a nutshell is all about. And so that's kind of how I like to lead my team. And, it's really trying to get that message out there to people who've never been an insurance agent, and to think beyond, oh my gosh, because Senior Life is so much more, the joy. I mean, I sold, I was never like at the levels that some of the people are here, but I wrote $200,000 a year for, many years.
Yeah.
And I loved helping people. And I think that, so what I tell people is, if you have a kind heart and you're willing to follow my 4 F's and you're willing to rely on our system, it's impossible to fail. The only, there's no excuse for failure. And the biggest challenge I have is the F I didn't include, which is fear.
Okay.
Because that's not part of the success program.
Right. That's the opposite.
But the fear factor is what scares so many people away. I'm just, afraid of something new. I'm afraid to make that leap.
Yeah, and that initial jump. Yeah, that's probably the biggest, fear to overcome. It's just getting started.
It's the fear to overcome, the fear to make a change in your life. But, but at the same token, I see so many people living in fear. They're fearful that they can't pay their bills. I mean, the housing prices in this country are escalating.
Yeah.
And they're looking at their job and saying, I'm never going to be able to do that. I can't put my kid into private school. How am I going to pay my college tuition? And they're already living in fear.
Yeah.
They're living in fear that their paycheck isn't enough.
Right. It's a constant fear.
It's a constant fear. And here at Senior Life, we have no fear. The only fear, the fear is fear itself. That was Franklin Delano Roosevelt. It is so applicable here, because there is so much fear and trepidation in the lives of everyone in this country today about, how can I pay my bills? How can I retire? I met with an agent last week, Will, and he was in his late 50s, came to my office, and he's like, I don't have a retirement. I put my kids through college.
Oh, wow.
He says, I thought when I was 58, I'd have several $100,000 in the bank, my house paid off. Well, he says, now I've got 3 kids, I paid for college. My house isn't paid off because I've loaned money. And I'm sitting here going, I want to retire. And I said, it's not too late. I'll put you on a 10-year plan. How much you want when you want to retire? So you want $1 million? This is what you need to do. And he's like, really? And this guy was kind of a brassy kind of guy. And I was like, what are you afraid of? And the next day he went out and rode with Joe up in one of our managers up in the Northeast. They sold some policies together, and he's not looking back. He was on our call last Friday, setting appointments. and it's like, he's making the leap. He's all in. And I think that's what this is all about is to be very careful that you have a clear goal, a clear focus, and what you want to achieve.
Yeah, that's awesome, Dan. Well, I mean, I really appreciate, you coming down and talking to us and sharing all that. And I'd like to thank everybody at home as well. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and look out for another All Fired Up next week.
Let's go.
Sweet.
Fired up.